Have you ever felt a tightness in your chest, a pain that won't go away, a strange tiredness in your body, and realized that it all started after a hurt that was never resolved? Have you ever stopped to think that maybe it's not just stress or just a coincidence? Many people carry resentment for years without realizing that it goes far beyond the mind. It settles in the body, silently, affecting health, well-being, and even the way you live your daily life. Have you ever experienced this? What almost no one tells you is that science has been showing something disturbing. Emotions like repressed anger, bitterness, and unforgiveness can generate real physical responses, inflammation in the body, and a constant state of internal alert. This is not an exaggeration. It's not motivational talk. It's biology, neuroscience, and emotional health. The body reacts to what the mind insists on reliving, and resentment, when not processed, transforms into weight. Perhaps you think that holding on to this resentment protects you. Perhaps it seems safer not to forgive. But stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover may surprise you and explain symptoms you've never fully understood. From here, the conversation begins to get even deeper. And as we move forward with this conversation, I want to invite you to truly participate in it. Because this topic isn't distant or theoretical. It touches on real stories, real pain. If this subject resonates with you, leave a comment below about what has touched you the most so far. It could be an experience, a feeling, or even a question. Often when we put this out there, we realize we're not alone, and other people watching might recognize themselves in your story too. If this content is helping you see the relationship between emotions, resentment, and health in a different way, like the video. This seems simple, but it greatly helps to spread this message to more people who may be going through something similar and haven't yet been able to name what they're feeling. And if you feel this type of conversation is lacking, subscribe to the channel. Your subscription shows that you want to continue exploring these topics in more depth, always based on science, but without losing the human side. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow, build community, and reach those who truly need to hear this. And now that you've realized that resentment isn't just in the mind, let's understand what really happens inside the body when this emotion takes hold. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because understanding what resentment truly is completely changes how we perceive this pain. Resentment isn't just holding on to anger or not being able to forget. In practice, it's an undigested emotion. It's when something hurts, generates anger, creates resentment, and the mind starts revisiting this scene repeatedly, as if trying to resolve something that never truly closes. Anger, resentment, and mental repetition form a silent cycle that strengthens behind the scenes. And here's a hidden truth that almost no one talks about. This isn't emotional weakness. It's not a lack of maturity, nor a sign that you're negative. It's a real biological process. Every time this memory returns, the body reacts as if the event were happening again. The brain activates defense mechanisms, releases stress hormones, adjusts breathing, contracts muscles. The impact isn't limited to the mind. It spreads throughout the body, influencing decisions, mindset, and even how you relate to yourself. Over time, this pattern becomes a grueling internal journey. The body enters survival mode, even without immediate danger. And the most curious thing is that many people learn to live with it, normalizing the tiredness, tension, and irritability without realizing that a transformation is happening inside, and not always for the better. Resentment disguises itself as protection, but exacts a high price in the long run. When we understand this, something begins to change. It's not about blaming ourselves, it's about awareness. It's realizing that the body is trying to warn us about something, and that ignoring this signal only prolongs the impact. From this point on, it becomes impossible to look at emotions in the same way, because what seemed just emotional begins to reveal much deeper consequences. Comment below. That makes sense to me. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because there's a silent turning point in this journey that almost no one notices. The body doesn't forget what the mind insists on repeating. Every time a painful episode returns to memory, The brain doesn't make a clear distinction between memory and reality. For it, it's happening again. And that's where one of the most important revelations about the emotional impact on the body lies. When the mind relives the scene, the body reacts immediately. Breathing changes, muscles tense, the heart races or feels heavy in the chest. It all happens behind the scenes, often unconsciously. This is what's called the body's emotional memory kicking in. The nervous system responds as if there was still a threat, as if it were necessary to defend itself, flee or resist. The detail is that the danger has already passed, but the organism didn't receive that warning. The body doesn't understand the past. It reacts in the present. Over time, this pattern shapes the mindset. The person begins to live in a constant state of alert, making decisions based on past experiences, not current reality. This affects relationships, choices, self-confidence, and even how the body moves in daily life. A subtle transformation is taking place, where old pain begins to influence the present, creating a continuous feeling of weariness and tension that seems to have no logical explanation. This hidden truth changes everything, because it shows that it's not exaggeration or drama. It's physiology, it's survival, it's the body trying to protect something that has already been wounded. When this awareness arises, a powerful space for change opens up. Not a forced change, but a deep understanding that something needs to be given new meaning. And when this repetition is interrupted, the impact on the body begins to diminish almost immediately. From this point on, it becomes impossible to ignore how many unresolved emotions remain active within us, even when we believe we have overcome them. And it is precisely at this point that the conversation begins to reveal how this cycle affects health in ways that almost no one associates with emotional origins. Write this down. I'm on this journey too. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when science enters the conversation, a lot of things start to make sense. It's not about opinion or guesswork. It's about what happens inside the body when resentment becomes a constant state. Every time this emotion is activated, the body understands that there is a threat. And automatically it releases two main hormones, cortisol and adrenaline. They are useful in specific situations, but when they remain active for a long time, the impact is silent and cumulative. Think of it as if the body is always on high alert, even when you're at rest. This continuous activation creates an internal inflammatory environment, not the visible kind of inflammation, but a chronic, low-grade inflammation that affects joints, muscles, intestines, and circulation. Behind the scenes, the immune system begins to weaken because constantly expending energy defending itself takes its toll. That's why many people get sick easily without realizing the true cause. Sleep also feels this impact. The tired mind wants to rest, but the body doesn't switch off. Digestion becomes slow or irregular because the body prioritizes survival, not balance. This hidden truth changes how we interpret common, everyday symptoms. It's not bad luck, it's not just a hectic routine. There is a direct connection between emotions held for a long time and automatic biological decisions. When you understand this, something transforms internally. Your mindset changes. You realize you're not broken, nor are you failing yourself. You're simply experiencing the consequences of a prolonged emotional state. This revelation opens the way for a journey of awareness, where the body ceases to be an enemy and becomes a messenger. And when that message is heard, the impact begins to lessen. It is at this point that it becomes impossible to ignore how unresolved emotions shape health in a profound and continuous way, paving the way for us to understand why certain symptoms persist, even when everything seems to be fine. Comment below. That makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because this is where many people begin to see themselves for the first time. There's an almost invisible line between what we call emotional illness and the most common physical symptoms of daily life. Stomach pain that comes and goes, that feeling of a knot in the abdomen without a clear cause, constant muscle tension, especially in the neck, shoulders, and jaw, as if the body never fully relaxes. Rising blood pressure, a heavy heart, even in simple moments. A fatigue that doesn't go away, even after sleeping, as if energy is always being drained behind the scenes. Anxiety and insomnia silently enter this equation. The mind tries to slow down, but the body remains on alert. It's as if something is always about to happen. This is one of the most important revelations of this journey. Many symptoms treated as isolated problems are, in fact, physical manifestations of emotions held for too long. It's not a coincidence, it's accumulated impact. The hidden truth is that the body speaks when the mind has become accustomed to silence. It finds ways to signal that something needs to be seen, felt, digested. And the more these signals are ignored, the more intense they tend to become. This influences decisions, shapes mindset, and directly interferes with quality of life. Transformation begins when a person realizes they are not weak or exaggerating. They are simply feeling in their body what never had space to be resolved emotionally. When this awareness arises, everything takes on a different meaning. Symptoms cease to be enemies and become messages. And understanding this language completely changes how you relate to your own health. From this point on, it becomes impossible to separate the physical from the emotional, because both go hand in hand, influence each other, and build this experience that we call living. And it is precisely at this point that understanding begins to deepen even further, revealing why some pains persist. Comment below. That makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because there's a very common emotional trap that goes unnoticed by most people. Holding on to resentment often seems like a form of protection. On some level, the mind believes that if it doesn't forgive, it's defending itself, as if keeping the pain alive is a way to prevent it from happening again. A silent mindset emerges that says, if I let go of this, I'm putting myself at risk. And along with it, another strong belief, if I forgive, I'm agreeing with the wrong. This logic seems to make sense at first glance, but it hides a hidden truth. Resentment doesn't punish the one who hurt, it imprisons the one who harbors it. Behind the scenes, while the person believes they are protecting themselves, the body continues to pay the price. The tension remains, the alert doesn't turn off, and the internal journey becomes increasingly burdensome. The impact isn't immediate, but it's constant. And that's where the trap closes. Forgiveness, contrary to what many believe, is not about absolving the other person, nor erasing what happened. It's not about saying it was right or acceptable. Forgiveness is an internal decision, a change of direction. It's choosing to stop carrying a pain in your body that has already served its purpose. It's freeing the organism from a state of defense that no longer needs to exist. When this reinterpretation happens, something begins to transform profoundly. This shift in perspective alters decisions, softens mindset, and creates space for the body to return to balance. It's not a magical or instantaneous process, but it is real. Resentment loses its power when it ceases to be seen as a shield and begins to be recognized as a burden. And when this burden begins to be questioned, a new phase of the journey opens up, one in which the body can finally move out of survival mode and reveal other important signals that were being ignored until then. Comment below. That makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because when we look at the nervous system, everything becomes almost uncomfortably clear. Unforgiveness keeps the body in a constant state of alert. Even when everything seems calm, something inside you remains attentive, tense, ready to react. It's the sympathetic nervous system being activated for too long, as if life were an endless sequence of invisible threats. Behind the scenes, the body enters survival mode. Breathing becomes shallower, muscles remain slightly contracted, and the mind constantly scans for risks. This shapes mindset, influences decisions, and alters how you relate to the world. It's not a conscious process. It's automatic, it's biological. And the most curious thing is that many people believe this is personality, when in reality, it's a body that has never been allowed to relax. There's a metaphor that explains this precisely. It's like sleeping with your foot on the emotional brake. You do rest, but never completely. The body doesn't surrender to deep rest because at some level, it still feels the need to protect itself. This prolonged state generates wear and tear, steals energy, and hinders natural recovery processes. Transformation begins when this dynamic is perceived, because what once seemed normal starts to be questioned. This is one of the most important revelations of this journey. Unforgiveness doesn't keep you strong. It keeps your nervous system trapped in the past. And while that happens, the present is lived with a tense body and a tired mind. When this hidden truth begins to emerge, something changes internally. Not like an immediate snap, but like an expanding awareness. And it is precisely this awareness that opens up space to understand why the body reacts as it does, even when there is no real danger now. This is where the conversation begins to touch on something even deeper, because when the nervous system is finally understood, many answers appear where before there was only confusion. Comment below. I'm on this journey too. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because this is where many resistances begin to crumble. When we talk about forgiveness, many people immediately associate it with something overly religious, moral, or spiritual. But what science has been showing behind the scenes is something else entirely. Forgiveness can be understood as a real health strategy, a biological tool that helps the body move out of a constant state of defense and return to balance. It's not a belief, it's how the organism functions. When forgiveness begins to occur, even gradually, the nervous system receives a clear signal of safety. The body understands that it no longer needs to react as if it were under attack. This regulates emotions, reduces excessive stress activation, and decreases the continuous release of cortisol and adrenaline. The impact is direct: less internal inflammation, greater recovery capacity, and more energy available to live in the present. The transformation is not just emotional, it's physiological. This is a key point in this journey. Forgiveness doesn't erase what happened, nor does it change the past. It changes what your body does with that memory now. The hidden truth is that by letting go of resentment, you're not doing the person you hurt a favor. You're making an intelligent decision about your own health. You're telling your body that the battle is over, and that profoundly alters your mindset, your decisions, and how you experience the world. Studies in neuroscience show that more regulated emotional states help the body switch from survival mode to repair mode. Digestion improves, sleep deepens, and the immune system responds better. Not because everything has become perfect, but because the body has finally been given permission to rest. This revelation often changes how people deal with their pain, because forgiveness ceases to be seen as an obligation and begins to be understood as self-care. When this understanding takes hold, something begins to reorganize itself internally, and it is precisely at this point that practical paths emerge, small internal movements that show how this change can begin to happen in a feasible and real way, respecting each person's own timing. Comment below. That makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because when we talk about alleviating the weight of resentment, many people imagine something grand, definitive, almost impossible. But the truth is that this journey begins with small, simple, and profoundly human steps. The first of these is naming the emotion. Giving a name to what you feel changes everything. It's not "I'm feeling bad," it's anger, it's sadness, it's frustration. When the emotion is recognized, it stops acting in the background and begins to exist in the light of consciousness. This already reduces its impact. Another essential step is to gradually interrupt the habit of mentally reliving the same scene. This isn't about forcibly blocking thoughts, but about noticing when the mind enters this automatic loop. Each repetition reinforces the neural pathway of pain. Each conscious pause weakens this pattern. This change in mindset doesn't happen overnight, but it alters internal decisions that the body feels immediately. Writing is another powerful tool. Putting on paper what didn't have space to be said externalizes the emotion. The body understands that it no longer needs to hold it in alone. It's not about writing beautifully, nor showing it to someone. It's about releasing it. This simple practice creates silent transformation because it removes the emotional charge from the internal realm and makes it observable. The central point of all this is to seek awareness, not repression. Pretending it didn't hurt keeps the nervous system on high alert. Looking at the pain honestly allows it to begin to lose its power. There is no miracle cure here. There is a process. There is respect for the body's timing. Each small step reduces emotional inflammation, regulates internal responses, and creates space for balance. When these practices become part of the routine, something reorganizes itself internally, not dramatically, but consistently. And it is in this more stable ground that the body begins to respond differently, showing clear signs that it is leaving survival mode and entering a healthier, more whole state. Comment below, I'm on this journey too. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because there's a point of silence that often speaks louder than any explanation. After all this, perhaps an internal question that's difficult to ignore will begin to emerge. What if the pain you feel today isn't just linked to what happened, but to how much of it continues to live within you? There's a powerful revelation here, one that changes how we see our own history and the impact it still has on the body. Perhaps the pain you feel today doesn't come from what happened, but from what keeps being relived every day. This phrase often resonates deeply because it points to something happening behind the scenes of the mind. The memory that returns, the conversation that never ends, the scene that silently repeats itself. All of this keeps the body trapped in a journey that has already passed, but which still influences decisions, mindset, and how you experience the world now. It's not about blaming the past, nor about forcing an artificial overcoming. It's about realizing how certain emotions remain active and shape the present in an almost invisible way. When this awareness arises, something begins to reorganize itself from within. It's not noisy, it's not immediate, but it's profound. The body begins to be heard, and what was once just discomfort gains meaning. This reflection doesn't require a quick answer. It requires presence. It asks you to observe honestly what you are still carrying unnecessarily. Because when we understand the true weight of what is being relived internally, space opens up for more conscious choices, for a transformation that doesn't come from denial but from clarity. And it is precisely this clarity that prepares the ground for understanding how to break, in a possible and humane way, emotional cycles that seem automatic. Comment below. That makes sense to me. If you've made it this far, it's because this conversation touched on an important point in your life. And that's exactly why this channel exists. To create spaces for reflection based on science, but without losing sight of the human side. If this content helped you see your emotions and their impact on your body more clearly, subscribe to the channel to continue following this type of conversation. The next videos will continue on this same journey, delving deeper into topics that truly make a difference in everyday life. If you'd like, leave a simple sentence in the comments, just so I know you made it to the end. You can write, "This message was for me." Sometimes, recognizing this is already an important step. And if at any point you felt seen or understood throughout the video, leave a like. It helps strengthen that connection and spread the message further. And before you leave, there's a video here that complements this topic and further explores the relationship between emotions, body, and health. Click and continue watching it.